we were talking about Gun Runner in the last segment, and there was some unfortunate news related to Gun Runner. One of his best daughters, one of his first real superstars on the racetrack, Echo Zulu, was unfortunately euthanized in Southern California on Sunday. Steve Asmussen told the Daily Racing Form, Steve Anderson, that the filly came cast in her stall. She injured herself when trying to get back on her feet. She was a horse that had some bad luck and some health issues along the way, and was kind of star-crossed in that way. But when she was great, she was awesome. She was one of the best filly and mare sprinters we've ever seen. Obviously, she was great in the juvenile fillies a couple of years ago as well, going 2 turns. But I'll always remember Echo Zulu, and this speaks to, I think, the collective trauma of that day and that summer last year at Saratoga. She ran the race after New York Thunder broke down in the H. Allen Jerkins. And I honestly thought there was a discussion to be had about whether or not to keep running that card. Obviously, it was the Travers card, so they were going to do everything they could to get in those races. But that was a really devastating moment, especially 3 weeks after Maple Leaf Mel. And I remember her racing in the Ballerina in the next race, and she opened up this clearly in the stretch, and it was just like, please, get home safe, because it was from following that script from New York Thunder and Maple Leaf Mel. So yeah, that's how I'll always remember her. First and foremost, her accomplishments on the racetrack, but also that moment at Saratoga when she was dazzling in the Ballerina and thankfully came home safe.
And Joe, I remember her from even a little bit further back, just by happenstance, because we have some mares with Bill Betts as partner, and Bill was one of the co-breeders of Echo Zulu with some of his investors and partners. And I remember talking to him at the yearling sale. And again, Gun Runner was unknown; it was his first crop, and there was some buzz about it, but people were wondering if they were going to be early juveniles. So people were like, passively optimistic, I guess, is the best way of putting it. And Echo Zulu was beautiful and sold for $300,000. Had a really good female family before she even started running. And then just watching her run and develop, and it wasn't even so much that Joe, she won her first 5 races in a row, and other than the 2-turn Fairgrounds Oaks race, she won them by daylight. She won 4, 5, 5.5, 7.5 lengths. It was a sight to be held. And then ultimately finished her career with 4 grade 1s under her belt, champion 2-year-old, had the kind of speed that everyone loved, basically won every race gate to wire. And for us East Coasters, us homers, she was 5 for 5 at New York racetracks. So every time we saw her run locally, she won, and won impressively. And that was a group of filly and mare sprinters that were really good. I mean, Goodnight Olive and Juju's Map, and I'm trying to remember some of the other, but like that was a good crop of sprinting fillies. So it wasn't even so much that she was winning and winning big. She was beating up on some good horses, and really the only time she ever lost was going 2 turns in the Kentucky Oaks, and then, if I remember correctly, she got beat in the sprint in one of the Breeders' Cup races, right in the sprint. And there's a big field, and she kind of loomed and just kind of didn't get up there, is my recollection. But all the other races, and not that second place in a Breeders' Cup is anything to turn your nose up, but all her other races she won, and won emphatically, and really had a groundswell of fans for multiple reasons. But I always remember her as a yearling and developing, and then just having that kind of brilliant speed that Steve Asmussen is always able to kind of coax out of these horses. And she did it her whole career, her whole 11 race career. The only question I would have is, what was she still doing in California?
Yeah, that was part of the story that I didn't quite understand. Right. But yeah, she won 9 times in 11 starts, $2.6 million earner, 8-time graded stakes winner, 4-time grade 1 winner. Her only 2 losses, as John mentioned, was when she was 4th in the Kentucky Oaks and 2nd in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. That's a pretty impeccable resume. So she'll definitely be missed, and I think it's unfortunate not to have her as a great daughter of Gun Runner be part of the gene pool going forward. We mentioned that earlier.
Is she a Hall of Famer? What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so
it's
too.
Borderline. I mean, it's borderline, but yeah, I think that kind of brilliance over 3 seasons, a champion, she did win the Fairgrounds Oaks and the Juvenile Phillies, so you can't say she was just a sprinter. I think so.
Yeah, I would definitely vote for her. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would think that she should be, her career should be memorialized in the Hall of Fame for sure.